Hello and welcome back to Mirror's Signal podcast, your weekly podcast sponsored by Knowledgeably Instructor Training, award-winning CPD providers. Stay tuned to the episode for your discount code from them. Today is the third interactive session where we were joined by the MSP community members to discuss a set topic. This week was what is a good trainer, or what makes a good trainer. Now, we went off on many tangents through the episode as expected, but some of the things that we did look at was what you should expect from your trainer if you're coming into the industry, and maybe how you should expect the training and what things you should look for and what questions you should be asking of your trainer. So a varied episode with some good, insightful bits for you to take away. If you'd be interested in joining any of these interactive sessions or getting access to your weekly podcast, then you can sign up on YouTube, Spotify, or Patreon. So hopefully we will see some new faces in the membership going into the new year. But for now, we will get on with the episode. I hope you all enjoy. So we're going to get straight in with this one. The third interactive session. Nice to see some familiar faces now in these sessions. But following on from last week, which was driving instructor skills, what I wanted to discuss this evening, or you guys, we had the chat and figured which would be next and would make for a good episode. And what makes a good trainer, or what would make a good trainer? So that's going to be the theme of the episode, hopefully, depending on where we end up. But I'm going to throw it out to you guys because you've had a week to sit on it and think about it. So I'm going to throw it out. What do you think makes a good trainer?
I'm going to keep quiet to start with.
Oh, I was going to say, Penny, you start then.
I think it's only fair that I stay quiet to start with.
Right, why is that fair?
Because I started last week.
Right then, Andy, you go.
Oh, putting me on spot. Okay, then. I might as well. Otherwise, we'll be here for an hour just trying to work out who's going to start talking first. So we'll make that decision. So what makes a good trainer? I think for me, it's a trainer that's client-centered rather than being, you do this, this, and this. Try and find out what the PDI, who is the learner, how they best learn. Like we do with our pupils. But the trainers I've met, a lot of them, just come and just blurt out what they've got. They don't ask the PDI, what do you want to get from this? It's all about, we've got an agenda to follow. We're going to follow it. This is what we're going to do. Or is that just me?
No, it's not just you, Andy.
Absolutely agreed. I think that's the crux of it. Do you know what I mean? I think it's exactly the same scenario as our own learners. Find out what they already know and then help them to realise or fill in the gaps. I think that's the overall sort of encompasses the whole thing, really, no matter what stage you're at. I think that it's got to be done that way. And I think partly also understanding that, I think when you're training somebody that way, like, because you're dealing with a full license holder, aren't you, at the end of the day?
Yeah.
So it's going to be hard for them to say, like, you've got somebody who's been driving for X amount of years. Most people think, especially if they're going into this job, that and I know I felt like this, that I was a pretty good driver. I'd always got by. I'd never had an accident, never had any points on my license. I just thought I was probably the world's best driver. What a lot of crap that was. Because when my other driving was assessed, which I drove for about an hour and a half, well, the only training I did actually receive was, how did you do? I think I did all right. Okay. What about this? And it hit me hard. Do you know what I mean? I think that's quite difficult for any PDI to take on board, that they've not really been thinking about it. And I think that's us understanding that, you know what I mean? And helping them to assess it from a non-judgmental point of view. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, the reasons why it's probably not as good as you think it is. You know what I mean? And have they really thought about everything? I think it's hard to sort of explain, I think. I said, but there's going to be, I think, as a trainer, it's hard to put that point across. You know what I mean? It's hard to sort of give somebody the bad news, the bad news that, you know, it's going to take this or that to sort of get through it.
It's
Because
in
I
the
know that.
coaching skills, though, isn't it? It's how you coach them through it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, because
I think get them to realise why it needs changing, isn't it? You know, like buying into it.
that's it. Again, it's in the way that you coach and the way that and the questions you ask. Exactly the same as a learner.
Mm.
You ask them the correct questions and get them thinking about what they're doing and why they're doing it. They will change what they're doing if they need to.
Yeah.
But in a room full of 100 people, 80 people will think they're good drivers,
Yeah.
or above average drivers.
Yeah.
So proven in a few studies that I've read. And when I've done it, because when I used to do drink driving rehabilitation courses, one of the questions we'd ask is like, how would you rate yourself in as a driver between 0 and 10, where 0 is rubbish, 10 is the best there ever is? Most people would say 8. And I think probably in a room of 20, like between 20 and 24 people, I think we'd probably get 1 or 2 that would put themselves below a 5. Everybody else would be above a 5 and usually an 8. Because we don't have anybody else to look at our driving, do we?
That's it, isn't it?
That's
We
it.
just get
So
by.
we just think, what's that saying? Anyone that drives slow as faster than us is an idiot and no, a maniac, and everyone drives slower than us is an idiot. Have you heard that saying?
I've not heard it, but that, I can imagine.
Yeah, there's I've heard that quite a few times. I looked that up actually the other day. Can't to see who it was that said that originally. It was I can't remember. I might have a look in a bit. I start my trainees with part 2, so just assessing their driving before they do part 1, because that way we're looking at the skills that they need and delving down into the reasons we do the various things, which includes the part 1, which is something which I think is missed by a lot of trainers, because it's like, go off and do your part 1, come back to me when you've done it. If you do the start in the middle, you know how that person is going to be driving, you know how willing they are to change what they're doing, and that sets off that client-centered learning with them. So teach them in the style that you want them to teach their learners, and you'll develop a good trainer. I mean, a good instructor.
Yeah, a similar sort of thing I was going to come in with. Like about blending.
Yeah.
And I wonder how many people have actually had the driving looked at before they even apply to go on register. Because I think some of these bigger schools, we'll call them, they're interested in getting people signed up rather than seeing if there are any decent drivers amongst them. You know what I mean? Because if they don't drive to a decent standard to start off with, and they're getting offered 10 hours to get them through the part 2, that's just scratching service, in my opinion.
That's why it's such a high
failure,
such a low pass rate of part 3, isn't it? Because they're just getting everybody in. Most people will eventually pass their part 1. Majority of people will pass their part 2, but when it comes to part 3, that's where it dives down, because they haven't had that integrated training. So there isn't that full understanding of the reasons we're doing things.
I think if you speak to anyone, if you speak to any person that starts this and they get asked, "Are you a good driver?" they'll say, "Yeah." No matter what anyone thinks, I think I'm a good driver, no matter what. And then when they break it down, that's when they realise that they're not so good driver. But are they going to be submissive to what they have to do? probably not.
Yeah, I had one last week who said to me that he's a good driver. I said, well, so what makes you a good driver? He said, oh, I've been driving over 20 years and not had an accident. So I just said, well, have you not been at wrong place at wrong time? And he went, no, I'm a good driver.
Yeah. In fairness, I said the same thing. You know, I thought I was, but if I look back at the way that I drive now to the way I used to drive, it's another world entirely. You know, and when I was given the list of what needed fixing, I wasn't then given the skills to fix it. I just had to go away and do it myself because as you know, Andy, my training was absolutely diabolical.
That's second time.
Non-existent. So, although I was given that list, I wasn't then, you know, guided or coached towards getting it another way. I had to sort of just get my head down and really, really think about it.
So, putting something to you, Carl, going on my experience of being trained, I did back-to-back training 2 days in a row for my part 2, and nobody ever assessed me after that. Gave me things to do, but then I was on my own. I think I did my training around about May time, and I didn't take my part 2 until December.
Right.
So quite a number of months had passed by before I actually went and sat my part 2. But yeah, the part 2 training happened months before, over 2 days. Now, I'm not being funny, you know, but what improvement can you show overnight?
True. I think there's one thing. Go on.
I was just going to say, I think some of these companies that do back-to-back training, I think there needs to be a gap between it. So you've got time. So it's proven that it takes, on average, 6 weeks to make a change, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So really, we should be breaking that training up, even if it's only 3 or 4 week break between the 2 lots of training, to see if any improvements being made.
Yeah. I think the one thing that has probably done me a favour with going to I can't even say, you know, that there's
a bigger school,
one of the big schools, was that it forced me to branch out and find the right people. And I think that's probably done me a favour. Because if I had received sort of just about okay training with them, I probably would think that I didn't need to do any extra.
How far were you into your training before you realised that you needed to branch away?
When I failed my first part 3. Because the response that I got from that fail was abysmal. I sent my trainer a text just saying basically, you know, I'm absolutely beside myself, blah, 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 blah. This is a report from the examiner. And the only text I got back from that person, and I gave them 3 days to back it up, I was just like gobsmacked, chin on the floor, was the word bummer. That's all I got. No support. Absolutely sod all. Just the word bummer. So as shocked as I was, I left it. I gave him 3 days, and then I went to head office. And I said, this is not acceptable. Sort it. And to be fair, they did step forward. And from that day, it made me want to make sure that if I found anybody else out there who was suffering like that, I wanted to help them. Because I thought that feeling of what I'd put myself through to do this, i.e. walking out of a well-paid job with a bloody good pension with the local council, to thinking it was going to be the highlight. Great, fantastic job. Do you know what I mean? To be hit in the stomach with this realization that, my God, I've made a huge mistake. That really scared me, and it made me want to, you know, branch out further, get some help, and help other people. Because it's still going on now, and there's no excuse for it. The regulations is just unbelievable. It's non-regulated, isn't it? It's just, I just find it really upsetting, you know, of all these people that I see online, and it's hard. I try to stay away from these Facebook pages, but it's hard not to comment sometimes. You know,
I'd like to throw a question out here. Sorry, Carl.
No,
but we do see it a lot, and we're here to discuss what makes a good trainer. And I expect if we were to ask someone who's just applied for a DBS, what makes a good trainer? What do you want from your trainer? They probably wouldn't say much different to what we're discussing this evening. Although it might not be the same words, it might not be client-centered or whatever else, but they're going to have a very similar message that they probably want a personalized approach. Why, for a lot of people, is it taken until a failed part 3 to realize that what they're getting isn't enough? Because we want this episode, I guess, to help PDIs. That's what most of us are here for. We're either PDIs looking for help or we're doing something to try and help PDIs. How can you tell that you're not getting what you should be? How do you know
You
that
don't.
it's not a good training?
Yeah.
You don't.
It's hard, isn't it?
I don't think you do. I certainly didn't. And it did take that, that element of, oh, well, we'll wait for something bad to happen before we'll do anything about it. But I didn't know. I had nothing to compare it against. And I think if any PDIs, my message to any potential, PDIs out there is, don't fall for that. Just have a good look around. Look for people with knowledge and understanding, a proven track record. Make sure that you're getting the right relevant information so that you can compare. Because most of the time, when somebody puts in Google, I want to be a driving instructor, what comes up? What's at the top of the list? What are the stuff at the top of the list is not what's going to help you. Yeah. But they've just got this, good marketing campaigns and stuff like that. And I don't think it works like that.
I think one of the bigger problems is the sales pitch.
Mm.
So people believe they are getting the best of the best.
Mm.
It's not like going into a supermarket and going to a shelf and thinking, well, I can have cheap and nasty, or I can have mediocre, or I can have best. A lot of these people just go to a trainer, and the trainers that are the most vocal on the social platforms tend to stand out above everybody else because they're constantly posting that they're doing this, they're doing that. Whereas there's trainers out there that just sit in background and get on with what they're doing.
Mm. I think it's a bit of a lottery, to be fair. Look, it would take one big school and we could say that we're going to tar every trainer with the same brush. That's probably not the case. But it's like entering a lottery. You don't know who you're going to get. You don't know whether that trainer gives a crap or not. You've no idea what client-centered learning is. Do you know what I mean? You don't even think about that. You just want to be a driving instructor. Like I said, when I saw that advert, I was like, look, biggest school in the country, and I only have to pay that much, and I can be a driving instructor.
And that's the thing as well. You look at what's well known and the reputation, don't know what you think is a reputation.
But that doesn't give you, the reality of what makes a good trainer, because do we know that already? I think that what Josh is trying to say there is that this is going to go out to potential PDIs where they get to hear what we're saying is, even if you are still in the midst of that training, then don't just leave it like that. Don't wait for something bad to happen. Actually reach out and see if there's any difference. See if there's, start talking to other trainers and just say, and compare it against what you're having as supposed training, and just see if there's something that you're missing out on. And then then the clue's there. Yeah. So, and have a conversation with them. Tell them where you're at, what you have been learning, compare it. You'll quickly find out whether you're being trained or not.
I think one of the problems, though, it's such a lonely industry, and a lot of people snub PDIs. They don't even acknowledge them.
Mm.
You know what I mean? When you're at test centre and there's a PDI there, they're new, and they sat there like in corner, like new boy in class, and they don't want to say out, and they sit there in the background quiet. A lot of people will snub them.
Yeah, I got it.
I'll talk to anybody, me. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? it's that in when we're in test centre, and I've seen it in test centre where people get totally snubbed. It's a very, very lonely industry. So unless they talk to people and people talk back, how do they know if they're getting good training or not?
Well, that's it. I mean, to me, it's like my advice would be get out there, look at who we all know the big names. You know, the big names of trainers, not schools. Just have a conversation with them. You know, send them an email, have a conversation, see what tell them where you're at, what your feelings are. You know, and compare it with that, because once I reached out, like Lee Jowett, once I reached out to him, he was the one that saved me. So, kudos to him.
What is it you're comparing? Because we're saying this compare. What is it that these people should be comparing? Because there's a lot of people, a hell of a lot of PDIs. The last numbers, I think, were, 10, 20,000 PDIs at the minute. And there's a handful of trainers that are vocal on social media. And there's a lot of trainers that are not so vocal, which means you're going to have to go to people that maybe don't have the same social media presence. You might have to go to someone that's local, that doesn't have this big name. What things are you comparing? What should you look for?
I think people should look for how they're going to be trained. Ask who exactly is going to train them. So can they speak to the trainer? Because it'll be 9 times out of 10, it'll be a salesperson that they're speaking to. And the salesperson will have that pitch to say, oh, we're the best, you won't get anyone better. Ask to actually speak to the trainer that you are going to be using, person that you're going to be spending all that time with. Because if you don't have that instant rapport with them, what's the point of going with them? Find someone else before you sign up to anything. Don't sign up to anything until you know what you're getting for your money. Look at how they're going to train. Are they going to send you off to do part 1 on your own? Are you going to get 2 days in car or 10 hours in car for your part 2? And then are you going to get the support you need, or is it dead 40 hours, that's it, and that's all you're going to get? Look for somebody that's knowledgeable, that can prove that they have the ability to train you and to give you the information that you're going to be needing, and they're going to help you with your needs. I think a lot of people just think, right, I've got to go and do my part 1, that's it, I'll go off and do that. Part 2, I'll get that done, then part 3. And they don't understand that it is all interlinked, and they do need to work on all 3 of them at the same time, so that they've got that thorough understanding. Teaching someone a skill that could kill them. So they need to know their stuff and not just find the easy way out and do it as simply and quickly as possible. They need to put the effort in. And that, I think a lot of people don't realise how much effort they need to put in to train to be a driving instructor.
I think one of misconceptions as well is people are getting people through an L test. Well, I've had 5 people pass, but I can't pass part 3. They don't understand it's 2 totally different tests.
Yeah.
I think that's another thing that's said quite a lot. I've had X amount pass and I can't pass part 3. They're 2 totally different tests. And this is why School of Mum and Dad's got a pass rate like Summit, like ADIs. Because if you just go round and round, eventually you'll get hold of it and you'll do enough to be able to pass the test.
Yeah.
Carl's coming in now. I can see him looking for the mute button.
I think the thing
before
is,
Carl does come in, I'm gonna throw another question in, please, Carl, before you go, and you can throw yours out in a second. But it's that Penny's mentioned it, I think Andy may have, I think you might have as well, Carl. And that's going for a knowledgeable trainer, someone that can prove it. How do you check that?
What qualifications have they had? What training have they had? Have they done extra training, or are they just doing what they think they should do as an ADI?
What CPD have they done?
Yeah. Yes,
Because to make yourself better, you need to be doing CPD and improving yourself. National Standard 6.5 says that you should be able to identify your areas of weakness.
But it's getting that point across, isn't it? Because when I was in that process, I didn't even know CPD, what it was, or, you know, I mean, I knew what CPD was generally, but nobody said to me, you know what I mean? You should be doing this, extra. No, I wasn't told anything. So, like, Josh's point was that you can't, what are you comparing if you don't know what to compare?
So is this where there should be like some kind of standard brought in? So everybody's training to the same sort of standard. Oh, look at Josh's face light up there.
I've led it all the way here, Andy. You've took that bait, haven't you?
Look how important it is. Look how important it is. It's one of the most dangerous things what any of us will ever do is drive a car. And yet there's no regulatory body that says how we should train.
So if you say it's one of the most dangerous things we ever do, how come we don't get reassessed? Because if you drive a forklift truck in a warehouse, every 3, 4 or 5 years, you're getting reassessed and you're moving around maybe 20 people. You're moving around hundreds of people every day and never get reassessed. So you can pass your test at 17 and carry on driving to your bloody 100 and never get reassessed.
Yeah, I think everybody should be reassessed, but it will never happen.
No.
It won't.
Here's a crazy thought I've just had, by the way. Just go with me on this. The way the regulation is on the UK roads, you could, in theory, pass a practical driving test with no formal training, no training whatsoever. You could 3 years later apply to be on the ADI register, have absolutely no training, pass a part 1, pass a part 2, pass a part 3, and then call yourself a trainer, and then be training ADIs and PDIs. So you can go through the full system with no training.
Well, you don't even have to be an ADI to be a trainer, do you? Anybody can teach somebody to be a driving instructor.
It's the ADI badge to sponsor a pink license, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a bit wild, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've been complaining about this, but the fact that you could end up as an ADI trainer signing off PDI licenses with zero training from learning how to drive up to passing a part 3, and that's all fine. So yeah, what a great episode. How do you find a good trainer? Don't know.
Doing your homework, asking people, asking around, what's the best way to do it? Who will help you in your area?
I think that's probably better than social media.
If you think about the PDIs that joined on this group, then that's got to be a good place to be, isn't it? It's just we need to let more PDIs know about these sort of groups so that they can hear from people who've been through the process like ourselves what to look out for. So I'm new to it. That doesn't mean I'm not capable of doing it. Any PDI could phone me up. I'll have a decent conversation with them. They'll pretty much know whether they want to come and have a go. Do you know what I mean? There's conflicting information for potential PDIs to steer away from people like ourselves. Like you and me, Andy, new to it, really.
But hold on. People don't know my background. Where have I come from into this industry?
I know they don't. That's what I'm saying. But your background, and your experience on the roads is vast. So you shouldn't have to justify that, really.
Well, the thing is,
we'll get on to that in a minute. We'll bring Andy in. You've got something to say, so I'm going to let you go, Andy.
Well, I was just going to say, like backgrounds. People don't know people's backgrounds. They should see what background people have come from first. And then the other thing I'm going to say is this: like when it comes to PDI, because it's minimum 40 hours, they believe that's all they've got to do. I said to him, it took over my life for over a year. Reading, watching videos, going out on day courses, going out meeting trainers and everything. And people think it's an easy thing to get in to this industry by doing 40 hours, the minimum amount, and it's nowhere near enough.
It isn't. It's nowhere near it. It's not even really a fraction of it, really, to be fair.
No.
Maybe that's why the pass rate is so low then. Because people are just doing the bare minimum 40 hours, and that's why the pass rate for part 3 is so low.
Well, Penny myself were at
Penny
myself were at a conference last week, and they confirmed that current pass rate up to end of November were 28% for part 3.
Wow.
Hold on, Sean's saying something.
Yeah.
I reckon altogether, I reckon I'm 200 or 300 hours deep in training altogether, and I've still failed part 3 twice.
Did that make you question your training though? Did it make? Because you're thinking, 200 or 300 hours. Do you question? The knowledge that you've been given, or do you think it's the way that you've interpreted it?
More down to how I've interpreted it, really, because I'm sat there thinking I've read more books in the last year than I ever have in the last 25 years, maybe 30 years.
But then books, did they give you different opinions on everything, or was it all much similar, very similar? Or did it just give you too much?
Yeah, probably a bit of an information overload. Probably a bit of an information overload.
Well, I don't know if Sean still can hear us in that, but so Sean says he was 200 to 300 hours in. How many hours have you had somebody sitting back in your car and watch you teach? Because why I ask this is because you can say to your blue in your face that you are doing something, and until somebody actually sits in and watches you teach, because I was guilty, I was convinced I was doing everything that we needed, until somebody actually sat in back at car and watched me teach and identified what I wasn't doing that I thought I was doing.
Yeah, agreed. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think Lee was the first person. I think, well, actually, aside from me trainer at the school, who, it might as well have just been a cardboard cutout sat in the back there, for far less hours than he should have been. It was only until Lee sat in the back with me that it sort of hit home, because the reality was there then. A real report on what was going on. Not blow smoke up my arse and bugger off after 2 minutes. So, so I think that we learn a lot on how to be a good trainer from, I would say I've learned a lot on how to be a better trainer from poor training, because it's forced me to reach out. But I think, like what Sean was saying there, for me, I think it is important that we don't spread ourselves too thinly regarding where that information's coming from. Do you know what I mean? Because I really struggle. I'm a terrible reader. I never used to be that bad, but my dyslexia just plays absolute havoc. So, aside from the knowledge and understanding, the training to pass my part 3 was based on most conversations only. It was conversation mainly only. Because I said to Lee at one point, I said, look, because you know what Lee's like, he can reel off 3.1, 6.2, 0.3 of this, that, and the other. That means nothing to me. So I said, I need you sat with me, your mouth moving in front of me, and everything you say to me will go in. You give me a book, or you reel off and, or tell me to go and read, whatever section of whatever document, I'm just not going to do it. I'm not going to do it because my brain will not let me do it. I've got whatever neurodiversity it is. I've got dyslexia. I've been told I've got ADHD, but I don't really know if that's real or not. But, and I've really struggled with it. So the rest of it was very organic for me.
Isn't that part of the as a trainer, what we should be doing is looking at what the PDIs need from us and develop and adapting our style to help them.
that was what I was thinking when I wanted to become a trainer. Was I want to help people like me who can't study like we're told to study at school. Read that book. Yeah, that information in that book is set in stone, and that's it. It's got to be more organic for me. So I wanted to help people who struggle like me, like I did, to take in information. Because the job still can be done, and we can understand the job and do it effectively without all that. Do you know what I mean? Because there are people out there who could make absolutely amazing trainers or amazing driving instructors who just haven't got that ability to reel off all that. Do you know what I mean? And I know Andy's really good at that. Because like you were highway code knowledge and stuff like that. I wish I could do all that. It ain't happening. In fact, the highway code to me is on my Spotify in my car. And if I'm not doing anything else, I just press play and I'll listen and just let it come in. Do you know what I mean? Put it in front of me in a book. I'm going to make aeroplanes out of it.
Yeah, I've learned highway code and that for word, like things I bring up. It's from using it in my lessons. And it's just that, yeah, I've got that type of memory where if I read something over and over again for long enough, it just sticks in my brain. But if most driving instructors were incorporating highway code and stuff like that into lessons, it'd make a difference. Number of PDIs that are driving around with no highway code, at least an highway code in the car. That's what you should be having as an absolute minimum in car.
Yeah.
Because where's your technical information given correct and accurate? If you don't know answer to something, you need something to reference, and then books need to be in that car to reference.
Yeah.
By incorporating it into your lesson, it helps you to learn what's in them books as well.
Yeah.
Or is that just me that's some kind of weirdo?
You're absolutely correct. I mean, I've got one in my car, but I didn't at first. And it took me, one of my clients was a while ago asking me a question. And I openly admitted, I went, do you know what? I don't actually know that. So I went, I'm going to get an highway code in the car for next time we come in. We'll talk about it together. And it's been in the car since. Because at the end of the day, we don't know everything. We don't. Do you know what I mean? We're human, own up to our mistakes and stuff. But yeah, I think it's definitely should be in the car. Absolutely.
Well, three books.
I would say have a couple of copies in the car because, now and again, if you feel like somebody's struggling, give them the book. Just give them the book. Just say, yeah, you've not got an highway code, take that with you. I've given like flashcards and stuff like that away in the past, you know what I mean? Just take them away. You know what I mean? I'm not bothered. It's a few quid off Amazon, whatever. You know what I mean? You pay me enough money, I'll give you a book, I don't mind. But I think getting back to the trainer thing I think it's an understanding of an individual, and it starts the minute you get in the car. That conversation that you have, you know what I mean? The rapport you're going to build up, so they've got trust there, and being able to get somebody to see that something needs to be fixed. And the moment they go, I can see why that needs fixing. Yeah, when you've got an agreement there, that's where it begins, isn't it? It's an agreement that they understand that.
See, when it comes to training as well, let me think how I'm going to word this now. So a lot of people do it 2-to-1. Is there any benefit doing it 2-to-1 or 1-to-1?
1-to-1 for me.
Well, I've done training up to 4-to-1. And I find that it does have its benefits because what I say about 4-to-1 when I did 4-to-1 training, candidates seem to take criticism better from the peers rather than from the instructor. And they seem to learn a lot. Now, I don't know. I did all my training 2-to-1. I didn't do it 1-to-1.
Mine was 2-to-1.
But some people might not like 2-to-1. So I know most at nationals do 2-to-1. Should there be an option there for people to do it 1-to-1 if they prefer to learn 1-to-1 rather than 2-to-1?
You couldn't sell it so cheap then. But that's on a another angle, I think, with the nationals, but that, I think what you're mentioning there comes back to that client-centered approach as well. Is it doing what's best for that person? Because you're right, the 2-to-1 might be better. I enjoy having a few people to bounce ideas off, and I think there can be benefit from watching a PDI, watching the trainer interact. A good trainer would have no issues, in my opinion, delivering that session and having a PDI in the back, showing how this coaching approach can work and demonstrating questions. And I do it with some PDIs where they watch my learners, but I'll have the learner there for free. And I'm explaining why I'm asking certain questions, why the conversation's going the way it is, and then getting feedback from my learner as well, so that there's live interaction in the car. But I would like to put a question out, and I'm doing this, I guess, on behalf of Mel as well. But for me, and it's been mentioned, and that's the experience. How do you check for that? Is it needed? Does previous experience come into it? Because if PDIs are watching this and listening to it, then there might be an ADI that's been qualified 18 months that seems like a real good trainer for them, but they're then being told or hearing, yeah, but they've only been qualified 18 months. Do you think experience should be needed to become a trainer?
So what about a trainer that's done no CPD since they qualified or became a trainer on audit register, because that's dead in water and that's been for a number of years now? So somebody like that might not have done any training. So somebody who's been there 18 months, their knowledge might be a lot fresher than somebody that's been in the industry 20 years.
A fair point. It's an absolute fair point. But the other side of it is like, if it's just down to, we're not good enough because we're not experienced, then experienced trainers are not ready-made in a box. They start somewhere. Yeah. And if somebody's got the knowledge and understanding and they've got the ability to be client-centered and they can do the job, I wouldn't give a toss if they was born yesterday. Yeah.
So other thing is, we talk about driving instructors. When was the last time you went to your GP and asked them what training they did before they consult you?
Yeah. That's a fair point. That's a fair point. Yeah. People don't do that, do they? But I think the results speak for themselves. And I think it's down to the individual themselves to work that out for themselves, as long as they understand what it is that the criteria and that. Because, like, going back to what we said before, not everyone knows that. So it's only going to be down to people listening to stuff like this that people are going to have that knowledge to go, well, okay, I didn't realize that I needed more than the 40 hours or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Because that's what they're sold, isn't it? That's what they're sold. So.
Go on, Penny.
I was going to say, so going back to something earlier that Carl had said, I always meet any trainees before I agree to teach them or help them. We'll just have a coffee, have a chat. We'll talk about my experience. And I'll be honest with them and say, I am new to training. I've been in the job 11 years, but I'm new to training. I've done CPD since my first standards check and last standards check, which was 10 years ago, 2 weeks ago, and 1 week ago. So I'm still waiting for my second standards check. So I'm still a grade B, which is one of the reasons I don't actually advertise myself as a trainer,
Mm-hmm.
because there is that perceived feeling within myself that people don't want to listen to me because I'm only a grade B. But I'll say this to my trainers. I mean, to my trainees, not my trainers, my trainees, that I have done every part of every single course there is, apart from the ones that I'm currently doing and waiting to do. The only one I haven't done is the idea course. Mainly because, well, the idea course is because I can't do it because I work full time, so I just can't get the time off to do that course.
But the results speak for themselves.
So it has said, I see it as we are always learning. There's no stopping in this job. We have to continually learn and continually move forward. We don't just qualify and that's it for an ADI. We need to continually look at what we're doing all of the time to improve ourselves, keep ourselves up to date with the current knowledge, because the highway code and everything is changing so regularly. If we don't keep up with that, if we don't move with the times, as it were, we're going to stand still, which is what's happened with a lot of trainers from what I can gather. They've stood still. It's worked for them previously, so they teach the new trainees as they were taught, and they've been teaching, and then everyone starts getting unstuck because nobody's passing the Part 3 because they haven't moved with the times. They haven't kept up with their training. So I think one of the biggest things as a trainer is honesty. And being honest with your trainees or the new people and letting them know and understand where you stand as a trainer. And you're going to try and help them to the best of your ability to get through the Part 3 and continue afterwards.
And you can't do much more than that, can you?
No.
Do you know, so that's what I'm saying, the results speak for themselves. I will almost guarantee, Penny, that any training that you deliver would be above and beyond what it is that they're sold originally. Yeah. So therefore, I know you don't advertise yourself as a trainer, but they'd be absolutely justified if you did, because of your knowledge and understanding and your ability to be client-centered and get somebody through the process. So I think that's the point there is, that's the crux of this whole podcast, is what makes a good trainer. And it's exactly that. Keeping up your knowledge at all times, continuous CPD, obviously, and an understanding of what client-centered really is. But I think if you understand what it takes, and I think at the minute, even though there's no regulation involved, it's probably done the people that do all the CPD a favour at the minute, because obviously, you know, the regulatory side of it isn't stopping us from doing that. So
I think it is. I think it is.
I think it's helping us to be able to find our feet in the industry for that side of things. But
I'm going to give
regulating.
I'm going to give my opinion, because I think the DVSA need calling out a little bit. And I've spoke about it multiple times. I think the regulation is failing a lot of people, because if you look at people that are stepping out as trainers, myself or Penny or you guys, whatever it is, where do people get sent from the DVSA to become a driving instructor?
Audit. Yeah. That's
been closed to new applicants for 2 years, over 2 years.
But what they should do is send them a spade and tell them to go and dig audit up. You know.
Well, there's that. So I think the lack of regulation is actually holding people back, because if there was regulation, the amount of CPD that Penny does, the amount that you guys do, and what I would do if it was there, is I'd be taking steps to go and do it. But because it's not there, I'm almost in limbo now. I've got a great business partner that will support me and has been training people, but there's no marker for me to know whether I'm doing the right thing or the wrong thing or have any credibility as a trainer. But there are people locally that can advertise as the only audit trainer in the area. So I think the regulation, although we within the industry know that it's non-existent, from the outside looking in, I think is holding a lot of people back. And ultimately, if we look at this episode and what we've been around, I think we agree with most of the points that have been said. But should it need saying? Should we need to be doing an episode like this, or should there be at least a minimum standard and the DVSA be held accountable? I didn't expect it to go on that little rant, but here we are.
Well,
it seemed relevant.
It's absolutely. Sorry, Andy, go on.
Well, if there were a standard, people would have to make themselves better and work to that standard, rather than pussyfooting about on social media. The big I ams, he who shouts loudest will always be recognised. Because it'd be interesting to see what some of these, what shout a lot, for them to put the CPD record on the table. Because my background before this was lorries and buses, and CPD is regulated by DVSA. So why can't they regulate it in this industry?
It definitely needs doing. There's a standard for us, for ADIs. We have to get through that part 3. We have to prove that we are able to teach or coach in a client-centered to a certain standard to get through that. So really, there should be a standard for a trainer to be able to train those people to get to that standard. It seems absolutely bonkers that there isn't.
Totally agree.
And if it comes out tomorrow, I'll happily go and prove what I can achieve and what I can do. I'll happily do that. In the meantime, I'm just going to get on with it.
There's a lot of people out there charging £60 and £70 an hour to do training, and you go to these conferences and that, and there's very few of them trainers sat in room because they're earning too much money to be able to come away from it to go and do CPD. The free expo, free. There's 50,000 people that register, and they can't get 2,000 there. Free, because people won't take a day out and go and get free CPD, go and learn stuff.
You're going to go with me,
that's money. That money is more important to them.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, absolutely.
I was busy that weekend. I'm going to get my excuse in. I was at Wembley watching Oasis, and unfortunately that weekend that trumped my CPD. But you're right, there's 2,000 people that turn up to a free expo. There's
less than
yeah,
1,750.
I wasn't there, Andy.
No, they're getting its figures last week. 1,750.
Yeah.
Is that right, Penny? It was 1,750. They said, weren't it?
Yeah.
And they're saying there's 52,000 licenses on road in ADIs and PDI badges. That's what they're saying on road.
I think that some people are losing faith though, because what were the figures the year before?
1,750-ish.
Again, I think that I don't know. I think there's a lot of disheartened people in the industry at the minute. The trouble with the getting appointments for part 2 and part 3. People being let down. I mean, you've got to look at the fact that because it's taking so long, they've not opened the goalposts, to help you to do that by making it a longer process while the problems are sorted out. It just doesn't seem right,
But L drivers are waiting 6 months, but we still expect them to come every week and pay us 60, 70, 80 pounds for a lesson every week. And we expect them to turn up. They're not losing faith in us. So why shouldn't we? Because CPD, I'm going to get on my soapbox here now. CPD, as a driving instructor, will make you better if you have a better understanding. If you can't take time out, I'm not saying you in particular. But some people will not take time out. Conversation I had in test centre a few weeks ago about the amount of tax money he's got to pay this person, but yet has done no CPD. Why not? It comes back to you through tax. When you do CPD, you can claim it against expenses. So why not invest into yourself to make yourself better? If you're paying tax man £2,000 a year, spend £1,000 on some kind of training to make you better, to make your job better. Because if you've got an understanding, a better understanding, I'm not saying it's going to make your job easier, but you're going to have an understanding to why we're doing something, and that's a bigger.
But I think that
Penny's nodding and agree with me.
Oh, I fully agree. The lack of regulation, though, will also, I expect, leave a lot of people with question marks over where do you go for CPD? What's credible? What's worthwhile? Where do you go? Where's your next move? And that is going to lead us down another rabbit hole of what do we do? I think looking for your trainer's CPD is worthwhile. Look at their experience. And I'm not talking about 18 years as a driving instructor, but what is their experience? Where are they at? What CPD do they do? What do they have planned? How's the training going to be structured for you? What's it going to look like? How can they support you? Are they going to be on the phone? Is it going to be a case of you might only catch them once a week? Look for that honesty from the trainer. I tell anyone that inquires with me, I'm not going to be able to answer during the day. I've got a driving school that I run and I'm with learners. So there's a lot of questions to ask, a lot of information to ask, but there's a few people that look like they're on the edge of the seat, ready to talk.
Yeah.
You got something, Andy?
Yeah.
Because to me, commitment is the thing for me. Yeah. I say to all my learners as well, look, I'm not just here in the car with you for 1.5 or 2 hours or whatever it is you do per week. I'm not on the end of a phone. Yeah. And if I can answer that phone, I'm going to support you the whole process. It's not just me and sat in the car while you're giving me money. So for me as a trainer, it's the same. It's like, look, it's full support for the whole journey. You know what I mean? And I think that a PDI should be asking all these questions: is what kind of trainer are you going to be? What are you going to do for me? Are you going to be there for me when I need it the most? Because when you as a PDI, sometimes you could sit at home all night with these questions in your head over the decisions you've made. Now, if you don't get support with that, you're on your own. It's a lonely job, isn't it? So I think if you're going to, consider being a driving instructor, then if you reach out to a trainer, whoever it is ask those questions. Are you going to fully support me all the way?
The only problem, say you're saying, a good trainer does continuous CPD. So if I said so Penny was listing off all the CPD that she was doing earlier. I've just, as a PDI, I've just got to take Penny's word for that. Because could you imagine an awkward conversation if I just went, prove it?
I could.
Yeah, you could.
Yeah.
But it's going to be so awkward for someone. So say it's the first time we've met, and I go, I don't know what this is all about, but I've been asked, what CPD do you do? This is one of the questions I've been told to ask. Someone that on a first meeting is not then going to turn around and go, prove it. It's like going for a job interview. You're not going to go, what's the what was the pay rise last year? Oh, it was 10%. Definitely everyone had 10%. Prove it? You're not going to say prove it. So I personally, and I love what you just done there, Andy, because I think
that's my file, and if I'm going to say I've done it, I can prove it.
So, and I personally think where a good trainer, when someone is inquiring about becoming a driving instructor, a good trainer should take that file along with them and give it to them and go, here you go, here's all my CPD that I do. This is all the training I've had. And then there's no awkwardness of, because like my whole journey through this has just been absolutely. I've crossed paths with some amazing people, and I feel quite blessed to have crossed paths with some amazing people. But also, right at the very beginning, well, for like the first year, it was rubbish.
So before we continue with the episode, here is your discount code from our sponsors, Knowledgeably Instructor Training. Just use the discount code MSP10 for 10% off their client-centered learning, part 3 and standards check in-person award-winning workshop. That is MSP10 for 10% off.
Yeah, going back to what Josh said about CPD and stuff like that. So I'm from lorry background, Sean is, Gary is. CPD has to be approved in that industry through JOUT. So there's a body there where you have to submit what CPD you're going to do and deliver, and they have to approve it. So is that the way we should be going? Should all CPD be accredited to ensure that they're teaching stuff that's acceptable in industry and leading people down the right path, like it is in lorry industry?
Right now, do I think that's the right idea? Not in the current climate, but I think it's absolutely the direction it should be going to increase professionalism within the industry.
Yeah.
Because we've got some great people. There are some great courses out there that are already accredited. So I expect if the DVSA were to bring that in, they're already accredited. You know, they're not going to have to do any extra work to please the DVSA, those people that have gone above and beyond what's required within the industry. But those that haven't are going to have to up their game a little bit. And it's not a case of just throwing together some Zoom courses. There's an accrediting body that oversees what's being delivered within the industry. Absolutely, it should be. And it comes back to what Penny said at the beginning. We're teaching learners as driving instructors a skill that if they get it wrong can kill them. Now we're talking about that one step above. We're teaching multiple driving instructors who are going to be teaching tens, if not hundreds of learners a year, depending on how many PDIs you've got on your books. So if the trainer gets it wrong, the PDI and ADI is going to get it wrong. What's the learner getting at the bottom? So absolutely, there should be some kind of accreditation and structure and regulation. And I've said it multiple times. I think they're massively failing us at the minute. And all of this talk about, oh, there's a 6-month wait for driving tests. Let's prioritize driving tests. Well, no, that makes headlines. But what happens when people find out you've got no regulation around the driver training side of it?
But I'll say this, I've done many, many courses. And there's sometimes I've been on a course and thought, I've learned absolutely nothing today. Because all they've done is took somebody else's work, moved a few words around, put their own spin to it, and claim it's theirs. But it's basically a totally repeat from someone else.
You know when you're learning something new, don't you? That's the thing. And I think, like, even in my opinion, like CPD as an ADI, not just as a trainer, I think even as an ADI, because of the importance of, it's really overlooked really what this role really is, then maybe we should be, have to submit as many times as we have to submit the tax returns, some kind of CPD that we've done to the DVSA. You know what I mean? Just to show that we are actually trying our best to upkeep that. And if we don't submit it, then we get called in for a standards check. I know it's not possible right now because of the waiting times, but even if they sorted it out over the space of the next few months where everything's back to normal, 2 to 3 weeks to get a test, everybody's getting the standards checks, everybody's getting the part 2 and part 3s in, is that going to happen? Is it going to happen that the regulations will come in to make sure that we're doing our job properly and not just a standards check? Are we actually continually learning? Because I think when we get a good understanding of how to get through a Part 3 or a standards check, that doesn't mean that we're continuing to learn. Doesn't mean that. I suppose anybody with the knowledge of how to get through it could get through it. Does that mean that they're doing CPD? Does it mean does that mean that they just have a
Andy
good
will give
day?
you the stats on CPD.
Well, I'm not going to get stats on CPD, but what I'm going to say to you is I'm sure we're all aware of people signing stuff off. If we had to submit CPD, is there going to be people out there that's going to take a quick Swifty to, I'll see you've been on my course. It's common knowledge that people are signing people off for 40 hours.
There's always, whatever happens, there's always going to be somebody out there that's going to find a loophole or going to find somebody to do it for them. That's part of being human, isn't it? I think.
Wouldn't be as easy with accreditation and regulation. It'd be a lot harder if you're going to lose your license, or you're going to lose the license from the awarding body or whatever it is. If there are consequences to what you're doing, it'd make it a lot harder, because first off, you'd have to prove that what you're delivering is good enough to become regulated, accredited, licensed, whatever. You got to prove it. You'd have to maintain it. And there would then be some kind of audit trail, not audit the one that's non-existent, but an audit trail of who's been on your courses, when did they come, how long does this course last? I've never had a lifetime qualification in the forces. No matter what I was teaching, no matter what I was doing, it was never a lifetime qualification. So do they need to come back every 2 years to renew this course? Do they need to come back every 4 years? Do they do a condensed course, whatever it is? But regulation is the place to start, isn't it? It's gonna bring in that minimum standard, and it would stop that signing off for 40 hours. Absolutely, anyone that's doing that should be held accountable and lose their ADI badge instantly. Because what's the quality of people that are on the road that are receiving zero training but on a pink license, charging for it? We want road safety. We don't want people dying on the roads. And I believe that comes from what we deliver, either as an ADI, a PDI, a trainer of trainers, as an industry as a whole. We're the ones that are officially training people to be on the road. And it's crazy that there's no regulation. Have we gone off on a good tangent or a bad tangent with this episode? What to look for from your trainer? Well, don't go to the DVSA because it's out of date. You can ask them about their experience, but it's not all that relevant. You could go to a grade A or a grade B, check their CPD, but figure out what CPD it is that they're doing. It's a bloody minefield, isn't it? For someone that doesn't know everything that we're currently talking about, you don't know which way to turn.
I think sometimes, going back to what I said before, was you always know when you're learning something new, don't you? You just know that. So I would say, because there's no regulatory body on that, so you could go to anybody to train. But would the results speak for themselves? Are you getting out of it what's getting results? Does that make sense? If I were to train for something, I'd have a conversation with that person and then start the training, and I'd know if I was learning something. I'd know if I was gaining something from it, surely.
But you say that, but it took your failed Part 3 to realise.
It did, but during the process, I was always in that mindset of, what is this? I thought this would be really sort of a lot more difficult than this. It doesn't seem to be much to it. So I was like, all right, if this is it, this is it. And I was like, it just seems too simple. There's nothing more going on. I don't feel like I'm learning anything. So maybe that's what the job is. I'm just getting a car and teaching them how to do that with the clutch and this with the hands. I had no idea. But so, yeah, I don't know. I think if you're going to I'm just a bit flummoxed by the whole thing, to be fair.
Yeah.
I never realised what this job entailed. So do other people know what this job entails?
They will if they watch this. What was you going to say, Andy?
Well, I was going to say, when you do your training and it's like 3 or 4 or 5 days consecutive, how much learning is actually taking place when you haven't got time to reflect? Because you come away after day 1, your head's just spinning. Then you go back on day 2 and you start again, and you're still trying to take in what we're done on day 1. And by day 3, 4, or 5, your head's just completely mashed. Then you're picking your car up and starting on a ping, and you're going out, and your head's just spinning because you've had no time to reflect on anything that you've done.
Yeah, I didn't get that. I didn't have my head spinning because there was nothing to reflect on. It was just basic. It was me sat in the car watching somebody talk about themselves for hours.
My experience of this coming into this industry, nobody asked what my background were. I was just treated as an empty vessel. And I was just told, you do this, 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 you do it like this, you do it like this. And if you do this on your part 3, you'll pass. There you go, off you go.
I didn't get that.
Yeah. It's as if people come like, wait, it goes back to that client-centered, doesn't it? If we assume that a learner that's coming to us knows absolutely nothing, they don't know how to cross a road, they don't know how to sit in a car, they don't know what a steering wheel does, learning's going to be a challenge and they probably won't stay with you. But it's the same for PDIs. I mean, I was pretty much treated like that. Like right, this is teaching now. I'm going to teach you how to teach. I've been doing it for 10 years. Like, let's take what I know. Let's bridge the gap, probably the highway code and driving the essential skills, maybe the national standards. And do you know what? I'm probably going to be all right because I've got a lot of transferable skills. Instead, I was taught how to pass part 3. What needs to happen to get through a part 3? You need to do X, Y, Z. No, it's about people. Like, we're developing people. If you do that, the byproduct is you pass your part 3, much like a learner driver. If you learn how to drive safely, your byproduct is you'll pass a driving test. Have we given anyone clarity this evening, or have we caused more confusion?
I'd say you also want somebody that's going to teach you the skills that you need to be able to teach a person to drive, which we haven't sort of discussed yet, I don't think.
A lot of schools that are offering training packages, their business module is just selling those packages. So, and then they sell you the dream of, and even like the school that I ended up going with initially for my first lot of training, it was it ended up being the most expensive one. And I thought, you know what, it's the most expensive, so it's going to be good. And it took me, it was a 60-hour package that I'd done. I didn't even end up completing it fully. I left, well, to be fair, I nearly done it, but it was 56 hours altogether that I'd done. So I didn't bother doing the last 2 sessions because it took me that long to realize that things weren't right. But by that point, I had already invested money into that company. And I didn't want to, you know, well, I was talking to another trainer by that point who persuaded me to go join his school, and that turned out to be a disaster as well. But so, yeah, so like I think part of the problem is the schools that are selling these training packages, 2.5, 3.5 grand, whatever. More often than not, they're asking for all the money up front, or at least half of it, and then they tie you into a 0% deal over 6 months or whatever. And then you feel, even if the training is bad, it feels like it makes you feel like you can't leave anyway because you've already spent the money. So you then end up having rubbish training for the first year of your 2-year timescale to try and qualify. I don't know what the answer is to change that, to be fair. maybe
think Penny does. It's something she mentions quite a lot.
maybe don't sell a package, just do a good trainer should just be willing to do a pay as you go thing.
Yes.
But yeah, for me, not because it's what I do, but giving people the option of what they need or what would help them the most. So if they're struggling financially, a week by week, hour by hour, whatever they need to help them pay, if that's what they want to do, as long as they're going to put the hours in.
That's
So
client
I
dependent.
offer free Zoom sessions with my training. So as long as it's like a group session, I'll do it free. If it's individual, then it's paid for. They come and sit in the back of my car and watch my lessons. That's all free. If I'm sitting in the back of theirs, it's paid for. But I think it's important for people to understand that everybody is different, everybody trains differently, everybody teaches differently. And you've got to find a person that's going to suit you. So without actually going in and asking as many people as possible in your area that's local to you, and the big schools as well, because sometimes a big school can suit people. It's talking to the trainer, the person that you're going to spend the time with, the person that's going to help you. If you spend the time with them, spend a couple of hours with them, or an hour even, just to see whether you gel with them, see what they have to offer you, see what they want from you in return.
Yeah. It's like getting a quote from a plasterer, isn't it?
It
Come give me
is.
a quote. Show me
Yeah.
tell me what you're going to do for me.
It's got to be not just a financial decision. It's got to be based on what that person can offer you and what your needs are.
And something you can walk away from if it doesn't suit you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And you're
I
right.
offer a franchise, but I won't franchise anybody until they've done their training and they're qualified as an ADI. I will train them to become that ADI, and then they get the franchise. But I will not franchise trainees because I don't think that's fair.
I absolutely agree with that, Penny. Absolutely. Because there's no tie in there. You're not committed to something. Something's not working out and you've committed to something, spent time and money on it. There's no worse feeling than that. Shit, I've wasted all this money and I've got to see it through. You know what I mean? It's that, for me, it's if somebody comes to me for training, it'd be like, I can have that conversation with them. They either like what they hear or they don't. They can walk away.
Exactly.
Yeah. And if I'd have had that, things would have been very different. Things would have been very different. I mean, I'm not going to. I mean, me joining a large school, I'm not going to lie, it allowed me access via a very rusty door, but I got in there. But yeah, I've got that to thank for it, but absolutely bugger all else, because they didn't give me bugger all else, apart from a very expensive car.
But is this why some of these people tie them into expensive franchise, knowing that they can't get out of it?
Can't get out of it, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like,
Objectively,
it's like
from a
making a
business
pact
point
with
of
the devil,
view,
isn't it?
but objectively, from a business point of view, it makes sense. Like playing devil's advocate from probably we're talking hundreds of thousands, if not millions of pounds from a business point of view, the contract is the value. It's a franchise model, and that in itself is not bad. It's what you're getting or not getting that's the issue. Look at some of the biggest global companies, like McDonald's, Starbucks, they're all franchise.
They're all bloody terrible as well.
But they make big money, and the people that own the franchise probably do all right, like each individual franchisee, if that's what they're called, probably do all right and make a profit. But they've got, I expect support. I don't know. Maybe there's a podcast of franchisees that are having these same conversations that are maybe being let down. But from a business point of view, it makes sense. It's how they're making their money. They're selling training cheap and they're recouping it. It's speculative, isn't it? And in the current climate, it doesn't matter because most people are going to take 18 months to get through 3 part 3s anyway. So they're getting maximum time out of the contract. But I'm not going to name any names because I don't want anyone knocking on my door. But what I will do before this becomes more, I don't know, discussing some of the negatives of training, I'm going to throw it out to you guys because we're coming towards the end now. Is there anything that people think we've missed? I'm going to give you all a chance to talk if you wish before we wrap the episode for the evening.
So I'll say, I asked Stephen what he thought would make a good trainer. His reply was being able to adapt to the individual learning styles. So what the individual needs. And as I said before, it's talk to the person that's going to train you. Don't just talk to the salesperson. It's talking to the trainer. What can they offer you? What can you offer them?
Yeah.
Like I thought, if somebody does come to you in that way, if you are, it's just the same. It's like being an ADI, isn't it? If we are doing our job right, then we're doing exactly what Penny's just said, right? So that's what a trainer should be, regardless of whether they're training learners or PDIs. And I think if you can, if you talk to a trainer and that trainer has a good, ethos to their commitment, and and has the backup for it and can actually prove themselves, then jobs are good, But not everybody gels. It's just they've got to find that gel, haven't they? Like, what we were talking about before. There's got to be that. If I was asking somebody to do a job for me, I'd have that conversation and I'd listen to those words, and then I'd go, all right, you're the man. Let's do it. Yeah, let's do it. You've said exactly what I wanted to hear, so let's do it. I suppose it's the same for anything when you hire anybody for anything. So yeah, I think that's that for me. I think it's people they rush into it, and exactly what I did. Big mistake, very big mistake. Do your research.
Yeah.
Before you step into it.
Something I'm not sure was mentioned or not because my signal's been hit and miss on the way home. One of the situations that I found myself in the past was like I was racking my mind over something at home. I messaged my trainer about it back in the day. He ignored my message, and I thought, do you know what? It is 7 o'clock in the evening. Maybe, he's a 9 till 5 type of guy. Hopefully he'll reply tomorrow. I left it a couple of days, sent him a message again, kind of just copied and pasted it and just said, I'm not sure whether you saw my last message or not. But messaged between the hours of night. I sent that message, I think it was like 12 at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Ignored it again. And then when I met up with him for my training session, he literally just said, time is money. You've paid for X amount of hours. Those hours is what you're getting with me in the car. This was an audit instructor, by the way. You've paid for those hours. You're getting those hours in car. Please don't try to message me outside of those hours and expect any support because that's not how I operate.
I'd be doing that.
Yeah, but after I'd spent $3,500 with that company, it's kind of hard to just go, okay, well, I'll walk away then.
No, you're right. That's sad. It's disgusting.
It
That
is.
is unbelievable.
That's when before I looked into doing this job, I didn't use social media at all. I had a Facebook account. The only friend I had on it was my wife. And I had a Facebook just so my wife could, have that marriage status thing. That's the only reason I had Facebook. I didn't use it. When I got that reply, I was speaking to my wife about it. I was like, well, what am I meant to do? And it was my wife that went, look on Facebook. And I was like, look at what? I didn't even know Facebook had all these. I literally just thought Facebook was a newsfeed thing. I didn't know it had all these groups. So, and it was Cheryl that was like, well, here's a driving instructor group, here's a driving instructor group, here's a driving instructor group. And I just started joining them, and that's how I've come across everyone that's here, I guess. So, but I had to end up going on social media to get further support. So I guess as much as I agree on, I've run businesses in the past. I understand time is money, and I get all that. But I think the willingness to support your PDIs outside of those additional hours, and not necessarily, I'm not going, oh, you need to answer their phones all the time. But Josh and I, we speak most days, don't we? I speak to Craig a couple of times a week. I've spoken to Penny late evenings. That's the sort of little added bits of support that I think a good trainer needs to be willing to do.
Yes.
Because something to bear in mind is, okay, yeah, I'm not working on the lorries anymore, but when I first started doing my training, I was working on the lorries. So the support I would have been needing would have been outside of office hours, and it was non-existent. And it did nearly, if I wasn't so interested in wanting, I've wanted to be a driving instructor for probably 10 years. If I wasn't so interested in it at that point, when I didn't have the support, if it wasn't for my wife saying, check out Facebook, have a look for some driving instructor groups, I would have probably just given it up. I would have turned up for the training because I had paid for it. And I would have just thought, you know what, I'm just going to do the training because I paid for it. But if I didn't get the support from everyone else that has supported me through Facebook and stuff, I probably would have given it up. So yeah, willingness to, I guess, keep tabs of your PDIs and
absolutely
answer a message outside of the hours they've paid you for. Yeah, I do exactly the same with my learners. I've always said to my learners, when you're doing your theory revision, if you've got an answer, even if you've got the answer right, but you don't quite know why, screenshot it, send it to me, and I'll try and break it down and help you out. I obviously don't charge for that, but that's my willingness to help people outside the hours that they're paying me for. I don't know.
That's real support, though. That's what real support is. It's like, for me, it's not just willing to answer a text or a phone call. It's actually letting them know that they can do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To me, I let all my learners know, clients know, just say, look, if you need anything related to what you're going through with this, you know where I am.
Yeah.
That's it. And I think that once and there's got to be a cut-off point to it, because you don't want to be taking the payout of, somebody texting you at 2 o'clock in the morning. But in reality, I think that's, if you're a trainer, then I think that's a good sort of selling point as well, to actually say that and then back it up with the reality.
Yeah.
Because you've got so many questions and things in your head when you're learning something new, as something big like this, that you're going to need support outside those hours in the car or hours on Zoom, stuff like that. Because we just get these poppy questions that come in our head and think, shit, what about that?
That's why I've got a WhatsApp group.
And if you feel like you can't reach out because you feel like you're mithering somebody because of the response you got last time, that's absolutely, it's no good. You feel confident in the fact, I'll just text Penny, or just text Carl, or just text, Andy, because I know that I'm going to get an answer. I know I'm going to get support. They're going to make me feel better. You know what I mean? They might not get rid of all my anxiety, but it's going to make me feel better.
Yeah.
That to me is proper support, even the slightest.
It's not even. Obviously, everyone knows that people are busy, so it's not as if people. I wouldn't sit here and go, "Oh, do you know what? Tomorrow morning, 9:30, bang smack in the middle of Josh's first lesson, I'm going to send him a message, and I want to reply straight away." It's not. I want Josh to pull over on the side of the road and reply to this message. It's not like that at all.
No.
If I did message Josh, even if I don't, I always get a reply the same day. But if I didn't, I'd just expect an answer at some point, not the message. Even if it takes a couple of days, that's cool.
But you'll get one.
Yeah. I know for a fact I could message Josh tomorrow morning. I could message Penny this evening after this Zoom, and with Penny in the evening, I'll probably get a reply quite quick. But I know for a fact there's some people that I can message, and within a couple of days, I'd get a reply. And I think that's what makes a good trainer. They're willing to that little extra bit of support.
I think it just goes to outside training as well. Like, I lost count of how many PDIs have contacted me on Facebook Messenger and said, can I phone you up and let's have a conversation? Yeah, of course you can. That's fair. Yeah. I'm not doing anything particularly, taxing at that time. I will do. I've been on the phone for bloody hours with plenty of PDIs for no reason whatsoever. I'm not training them. They just, they want some info.
Yeah.
And I absolutely will, because I know what it felt like when I didn't have that.
Supportive is definitely something that PDIs need to experience or feel like they're being supported. So I'm going to throw this out to a few others now. If anyone wants to say anything, I was loving what came from you two there. Has anyone else got anything that they'd like to raise for the evening?
Silence.
Well, I'm going to cut it there then. If there's nothing from anyone else, because we will end up, I'm sure, on this for a long time, because between all of us here, we've all got experience of training. Most of us, it probably wasn't the best, which is why we're now seeking that further development and looking to pursue what most people are here of helping PDIs avoid the pitfalls that maybe we fell into. So on that, I am going to thank everyone for joining me this evening. So thank you very much to everyone who joined me this evening, and thank you to you guys for watching or listening. And thank you to our sponsors, Knowledgeably Instructor Training. You can find all of their award-winning content at www.adikit.co.uk. Thank you.